hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation, taking you all straight up the lock tonight. It's a pretty quiet slate in that it's only 5 games, but plenty of news to dissect and break down. And I'm sure lots will drop throughout the show, or we'll just get a lot of game time decisions. That's a lot of fun as well, too. Joined by the Iceman, Keith Eister. Eyes. Keith, how are things in your world? How do we feel about tonight's 5-gamer?
Yeah, going really well. I was surprised when you said a quiet slate because there's actually been a fair amount of news already for a 5-game slate. And I thought we had most of what we were waiting on. Some stuff in Denver still needs to play out. But then Jimmy Butler gets downgraded and Kristaps Porzingis gets downgraded. So now we're kind of back to just a holding pattern, and we're still waiting on some stuff.
Who would have guessed the Heat were going to be a big pain in our asses, right? I never would have guessed that. Oh,
Can you imagine, what was it, Saturday, that they literally had every player on their roster on the injury report? Just ridiculous.
I could be wrong, but I think they got fined for either underreporting something or just neglecting something. And I think now they're just like petty. I think unless they're being like overly meticulous with the injury report, I think they're just being petty. Like they're upset that like they have to report stuff. I'm not really sure, but like, come on, you're giving us an update in every body part on every player. Of course, it's not necessary. Midday downgrade is always suspicious. Butler is in Chicago, though. He's not a big fan of that organization. No, he's at home, but he is facing the Bulls. Nonetheless, probably would want to stick it to them for sure. And then you mentioned Porzingis. 9 o'clock game, too, which also makes things pretty tricky. It's a 5-gamer, and it's not a sprint slate at all. It's spread out. You know, we got 1 at 7. It's kind of like a doubleheader almost, right? 3 early, 2 late. Utah, Detroit starts us off, the only 7 o'clock game. A game I don't think we can totally ignore. We'll talk about it. I like to try to ignore these 7 o'clock games, but I don't think we're doing it tonight. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Bulls, Miami at 7:30, as well as Golden State, New York. And in the back half of the doubleheader will be Washington, Phoenix. And we just had some body parts rolled out for Phoenix. Devin Booker, his groin is giving him issues, I suppose. He cannot play basketball tonight. Some other players were ruled out for Phoenix just a little while ago as well. Let's see. Some guys that didn't. Well, some Landau was out yesterday. Okogie played yesterday. He's out today. And Campaign is still out for Phoenix as well against Washington. And then there's Memphis versus Denver with, that the stars for sure. If you got some salary, Ja could be a lot of fun. And that Joker, it turns out, he's pretty good too at basketball.
He can hoop a little bit. What do you have? 95 DK points last night. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, it's we knew it was a thing, right? Like bigs against Charlotte. We've seen it now, like in back-to-back games, right? That was Jokic against Charlotte a couple days ago, and then Sabonis just absolutely annihilated him. I know they're different kind of players, obviously, but just man, that Charlotte. I don't like to just say like, well, bigs against. Obviously certain bigs are different things. They have different skill sets, but. Yeah, Charlotte's a fun team to attack.
2 slates in a row, we've had awesome center value, and then 2 center-only players just absolutely nuked. It's wild stuff.
Yeah. What did you do yesterday? We have time. We got an hour and 20 minutes or so. I didn't make enough lineups, and still a bad job by me because I thought Valanciunas was really interesting for tournaments. We talked about him. I was surprised to only see him, at least the one tournament I pulled up at 5%. I was like, man, 5% Valanciunas. And it was the perfect storm of, you're going to face Lopez, a legit big. It's going to be out there for a while. And Nance being out, like this felt like the time, like we're finally going to get Joe Val to close. Now, I wasn't sitting there predicting he was going to hit like 4 threes. He's capable of doing that, but he's not like he's not Steph Curry out there at 7 foot. But just really bummed I didn't get to that. I had some, obviously some good pieces out there. And Nas, whenever he gets, there's probably people out there thinking like Nas reached be like an all-star, right? He's like, it's just the way basketball works. You forget how good the 12th guy is on an NBA team.
Yeah.
These guys are really, really good. Did you get the Joe Val last night? I didn't get to him, and I was bummed about it.
I did not get to Valanciunas. We've talked about it a couple times this year, like him not closing games. And I remember, I think we were on a show together when we had this same scenario one time, and we were going back and forth about him still not closing, like potentially playing Zion at the 5, and that's what they did. So I was still pretty concerned that he wasn't going to close. And just when I know he was really cheap, but when you're getting like 25, 26 minutes out of him, it's just really hard for him to put up a ceiling game. Then he played 32 or 33 last night, and obviously just went bananas.
Yeah, Mr. Richard and Jackson. Yeah, talking about Joe Val and Sabonis. Like you had to hit centers last night, and like Reed, I don't even think you had to have Reed. I mean, it's nice to have Reed, but if you had Joe Val and Sabonis, I'm not sure how the rest of the money was delegated. Well, like you got like a really cheap like Dennis Schroeder, and that was the other thing is like point guard. There's a lot of good point guards, and there was some point guard / shooting guards. Like, oh man, I'm running out of point guard spots too because Chris Paul was in an awesome spot. Schroeder, especially once Westbrook got rolled out, like what kind of
the Westbrook thing was so tilting. I was on the Monday Night Football pre-show, and so I wasn't even paying attention. I don't think he was ever on an injury report, was he?
I don't believe so. No, I think it just kind of came out of nowhere.
So,
I thought
I was scrambling a little bit after that for sure.
I think I ended up on some ball, which was fine. He ended up fouling out, but I was trying to like not get as much of him, and then and I was kind of forced into a certain place, obviously. And then I think I played some Gabriel for the Lakers. I don't know. It got a little goofy. The Lakers, turns out, they're not as good of a basketball team when they're without Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And I guess Russ Westbrook, too. Back half of a back-to-back for Phoenix tonight. They didn't have to exert too much energy, though. Most of those players rested a good bit in the fourth quarter. I believe there's two teams, right, on the back half of a back-to-back. I have this written down here. Utah, as well, is the back half of a back-to-back, for what it's worth. Olynyk is still out. Feel free to throw out any comments or questions in chat or, like, strategy questions. This is a good day where you can knock that stuff out for sure. Again, just 5 games. Anything you have as far as overarching thoughts? I think it was kind of interesting. And obviously this stuff changes, the news flow and yada, yada. But, I like to sort of sort by point per dollar just to get a feel of like who like the quote unquote the best value plays are. Surprisingly, would you want to guess? I'm kind of leading you here, but somebody expensive, relatively, is the best point per dollar play currently on DraftKings. Who would you guess that is?
I cheated and I already have it pulled up. So it is DeAndre Ayton, which is incredibly surprising. No Booker, it makes sense. He'll be even more involved in the offense. No Payne, like you mentioned, and they're missing one more piece. Well, Shamit, and then I believe there's one more.
Landau is another guy.
Yeah, there you go. So should be locked in.
We haven't seen all season long. Cam Johnson, is that somebody that plays in their team at some point? That's a name, right?
He's still out. He's been out for all season pretty much.
Yeah. And it's not just Ayton, by the way. First 3 guys are all Suns too. Ayton, Lee, and Bridges. And Bridges is not cheap either, 6.5K. Nobody getting over 6X as of right now. Of course, this stuff can change depending on how, the news changes, but just sort of note, interesting. Anything else you have your eye on as far as, key injuries? We mentioned Butler, of course. Porzingis is questionable. Jamal Murray is questionable. Is this like a front half of a back-to-back or something for Denver? I meant to look at that because why would he get an injury management tag unless they're scheduled to play tomorrow?
They might. I'm not sure. I haven't looked ahead either.
Yeah. What's your the main thing you're monitoring, and hopefully we get it at some point throughout this show or crunch time at least.
Yeah, I mean the Porzingis thing is really interesting because we just talked about how much Phoenix we want to play. If Porzingis gets ruled out, that opens up some value on Washington, and that becomes a pretty interesting game stack. Probably have some blowout risk there if Porzingis doesn't play, but you're also going to have some cheap value on Washington that comes into play as well. So that's definitely news, slate-worthy news for sure. The other thing we've talked about a little bit already is just the center position. Ayton is grading out amazing. Joker has shown us he can put up 100 fantasy points. Walker Kessler, I think, is really interesting in Utah. There's just a bunch of good center plays again. You've got Vucevic in a decent spot. Like there's a lot of centers here to play again. Only 5 games, but there's more centers than we have spots for. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the Phoenix one against Washington, if Porzingis gets ruled out, there's another threat of a potential blowout. Despite the fact Phoenix is without, there's still a better team than Washington who's going to, if Porzingis doesn't go, they'll be like, probably close to 10-point dogs. Yeah, a lot to talk about. I'm sure I'll come up organically throughout the show. But with that said, let's get in, talk about the very first game on the slate. You mentioned Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler on Utah. The Jazz are in Detroit. 228.5 is the total here. Jazz are 2-point favorites in Detroit. Detroit generally is not that close to the line. No Olynyk, no Sexton. Detroit is fully healthy with the exception, of course, Kate Cunningham basically out for the season. And Livers, he'll be out for a while as well. We are projecting Vanderbilt and Kessler to start, which we saw that last night, which was interesting. And they went away from it really, really quickly. I'm not sure if you noticed that. And I was curious because coming into yesterday's game, Vanderbilt and Kessler played a minute and a half together all season long. So, and I don't think it was working out last night. They lost, I think, by like 20 or something to Cleveland, but they did play together a bit. Just, they might change that starting lineup up. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to start Vanderbilt and Kessler again. It did not work last night. And of course, last night they're facing Cleveland, like two big dudes, right? Stewart and Durant are not smalls, but I would say that Mobley and Allen collectively are like bigger, more imposing. You want more size against them than you do against, I guess Stewart is more of like a more girthy, I suppose. He's got some height to him as well. Durant, strong dude as well. But do you think that's going to be the starting lineup? Is it going to be Vanderbilt and Kessler, or is it going to be somebody else, like maybe like a Beasley?
So that was a really interesting point, and I saw that same minutes that they only played together a minute and a half the entire season. So I was a bit surprised about the starting lineup. I just pulled up the game flow, and you're absolutely right. 3.5 minutes to open the game together, and then did not see the floor again together until they opened the second half together and played 4 minutes. So a grand total of like 7.5 minutes together on the floor. So I kind of agree. They might just go with Beasley, and I don't know if they move Vanderbilt to the 5 there or if Kessler starts ahead of Vanderbilt. So yeah, good note there to keep an eye out for that Jazz starting lineup.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get it, but I would guess Kessler at the 5, Markin at the 4, and Beasley at the 3. That's just my guess. We'll know. We'll see. And we haven't seen Olynyk miss many games all season long, so they haven't been forced in this kind of the situation, I suppose. But let's talk about Utah first. Obviously, good matchup.
Just real quick, even if they do that, I don't think it changes the minutes projection all that much. Like neither one of them is going to play 30 minutes between Vanderbilt and Kessler. They're still both going to be in that 24, 25 minute range. So I don't think it changes all that much for me, even if they don't start.
Okay, but what about closing? I think Kessler's got a better chance of closing over Vanderbilt. What do you think?
Yes, I agree with that, but Vanderbilt will still get his 24, 25 minutes.
All right. As far as the Jazz pieces, good matchup, obviously, against Detroit. Detroit are they the worst defensive team? No. They're still just the second worst because the Spurs exist. The Pistons are the second worst team in basketball. Their pace is not particularly appealing. They're middle of the road, but, a good matchup all around the board for the Jazz. They're a little bit thin, the absence of Sexton, the absence of Olynyk. Prices are pretty fair. You're locking guys up, of course, at 7 o'clock, so you understand what you're doing there, and news flow may change, and all of a sudden you might have some regrets. But as of right now, as far as the Jazz, who are some of your favorite Utah players?
I think really just because of it being the first game on the slate, Kessler's the only guy from the Jazz I'm interested in. Markkanen has shown off a really nice ceiling all season long, so wouldn't try to talk anybody off of him. I think he's an absolutely fine play. But Kessler and what he can do per minute is really what I'm interested in. It's very difficult on Fanduel where you only have one center spot, and we definitely want to play some Jokic, even though he's expensive, plus Ayton as well. So it's tough to get to Kessler. I probably don't get to him as much on Fanduel, but I do like him as a DK play.
Yeah, 5K on DK, 5.5 on Fanduel. And like you said, center and center only, which kind of makes things kind of tricky. He is a better Fanduel player than he is on DraftKings. 1.18 Fanduel points per minute, 1.09 on DK. He's actually the best Utah Jazz player, fantasy points per minute on Fanduel. Not on DK. That goes to Markkanen 1.16 on DK. That's interesting. You're not really interested in the rest of the guys. They're all sort of priced where they should be.
Yeah, I mean, Conley's fine. Clarkson is fine. If Beasley were to jump into the starting lineup, he might become interesting. He's only 5.5 on DK here where I'm looking. You need him to score a bunch of points, but he can do that. Just being the first game of the night, it's a great matchup. I understand that, but unless we have all of the news, then maybe I get onto this game a little bit more. But as of right now, I'm being very cautious about how many roster spots I'm locking up early.
Theoretically, we'll get the Miami stuff. In theory, that's at 7:30, but who knows? You never know with Miami. Beasley, the tricky thing is, right, if he starts, he probably plays a couple extra minutes. But if he starts, his usage probably takes a slight hit, right? So it's that push-pull. Do you prefer him starting? Do you assume he's a better play when he's starting?
Yeah, because I think he still will be on that second unit quite a bit. It's like Clarkson is the guy you probably want off the floor for Beasley to kind of take over and get a bunch of usage. Obviously, Markkanen matters too. Beasley will still be out there with this, like running the second unit a little bit, I think.
Just kind of running through our ownership projection stuff as of right now. And again, everything is kind of up in the air depending on news. We have a 20% projection on Mike Conley. And like, has Mike Conley broken a slate all season long? I don't think so. I could be wrong. He's like just always sort of fine, right? Like last man in, I guess I'll play Conley. I got 5-3. I need a point guard. Sure, Mike Conley, I guess.
Yep. He is not a young gentleman for NBA standards, and it is a back-to-back for Utah. So he's played them pretty much all season long. So I'm not saying there's risk of him sitting or anything. I just like he hasn't been playing over 30 minutes recently. I don't think he gets pushed here. So I'd be very concerned about a ceiling from Conley.
Dean,
but if he fits, he's fine.
Dean, take notes. This is how you diplomatically talk about someone's age in a way that doesn't get you accused of being ageist.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Well, first of all, Conley's going to be fine. He's going to be okay. And like, and you know, the qualifiers are there. Compared to his contemporaries, Conley is older than the rest of his players, the rest of his teammates, essentially. Well,
there we go.
Players in the NBA. Like he's going to be okay. You know, he's had a fine career. I was going to ask. I feel like I haven't Googled the answer just yet. I feel like he's a little bit younger than we think he is. I think he's just like a really old 31, maybe a 32.
No, he's older than 31.
Is he older than 32?
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Devin's got it pulled up there for you.
Oh, man. Never mind. Yeah, he's old. This guy is ancient. He's 35. Jeez, that was way
And
off.
all those notes just go right out the window.
I mean, if the Conleys are watching, he's Mike Conley, fine basketball player. Once upon a time, the highest paid player in the league. I'm now that contract probably looks spectacular. I don't know. Is it still the contract he's playing on? I'm not really sure. But yeah.
I did not realize that he was once the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah, he signed the biggest contract in basketball maybe like 8 years ago or something like that. Yeah, with Memphis, I want to say. Does that sound right? I think that's correct. We have the Google. Right. We get just in case. Yeah, because I remember people saying like clowning him for and like it's not his fault. Like somebody offered him the most money, and all that's about timing as well too, obviously. But all right, other players on Utah, and as far as ownership, 20% to Conley, 18% to Kessler, center and center only. He's really handsy, by the way. He gets in a lot of foul trouble, active around the rim, but good fantasy point minute player as well. I like Markkanen. Don't love the price, but I think he's fine. Clarkson, we mentioned Clarkson. He's getting the lowest ownership at 9% amongst that initial group. I like him. I don't know if I like him at 7-1, but he should be able to do whatever he wants against Detroit.
Yeah, I think he's fine. If this were later on in the I might have more interest, but I don't know. I just like one of Clarkson, Markkanen, throw Kessler in there. I suppose like one of those probably puts up like a tournament worthy score, but I don't know how much. Like I'll probably play them at the field. They're 10% or so, but I'm not going crazy on this game.
Who's most likely to do it out of that group?
I would say Markkanen is most likely. He's the most expensive though as well.
Back in 2016, so 8 years. Wait, UCF math. Hold on a second. 6 years ago, depending on Mike Conley of the Memphis Grizzlies signed a 5-year, $153 million contract extension. So $30 million per, a little bit more. The biggest in league history at the time. So only 5 years ago. I thought it was longer. Yeah, so that contract must be over, right? So
that has to be total guarantee, right? Not per year. There were people 5 years ago making more than that.
5 years, $153 million contract extension, the biggest in league history at the time. $153 million is a lot of money, but it's nothing on 270. I'm not sure. I don't know if we're talking semantics or not, but they did call it the biggest contract at the time. I'm not sure if it was like for one season. Yeah, like maybe somebody had one season, 45 mil or something, or 40 mil. I don't know how that works, but yeah. And the NBA is weird where, I don't necessarily feel bad for the guys, but LeBron and Durant, and like these are the most underpaid players in the league. Once they're worth so much more than what they're getting, and the guys in the middle are kind of getting risen up thanks to the LeBrons of the world. But would you agree with that? Like, I feel like those guys, if they were free agents, everybody in the league would pay the max too. Like
yes.
LeBron, 38.
Yeah, I mean, one basketball player impacts their team far more than like one football player or one baseball player. So, yes, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. You don't think there's who's the Xander Bogarts of the NBA? I don't know. All right, let's. These are the little sidetrack conversations we get on when there's a 5-gamer. How about Detroit? How about the Pistons? Break out the Pistons. Get excited. Nobody really gets a ton of minutes outside of Bogdanovich. It's a revenge game. Is he a vengeful guy? I don't know. I guess we'll find out tonight. Is this first blood? First game against Utah? I wonder if that is. We'll check. What are you having as far as the Pistons? I think the bigs inside, Beef Stew and the rookie Durant, are both kind of interesting. We know about Utah. They give up the fewest made 3-pointers to anybody in the league as far as per game. At least they did like 4 days ago. I probably should double check that. And they also give up the most points in the paint. And like Durant, 80% of his points from the paint. Now he doesn't score a lot of points, but he might score 12 tonight instead of 9. Get him a double-double. And Beef Stew as well. He's a guy that can step out, but he lives inside as well. But the bigs are kind of interesting to me in Detroit. There's a little bit of revenge with Bogdanovich, and I guess Burks too. Sure, why not? Throw him in the revenge pool. What do you have as far as the Pistons?
Yeah, not loving the Pistons, and that's part of why I don't like this game. Durant has been playing really, really well recently, but he's another center-only guy. I prefer Kessler. He does it per minute better. Durant probably plays more minutes than Kessler, but just that center-only position is tough for me, especially on the first game of the night. I like the Bogdanovich revenge narrative angle. That's interesting. I don't believe they've played Utah yet this season. But...
second game. I just pulled it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he has had a...
Not great.
Okay. Interesting. But just regardless of revenge narrative, he's a guy who has shown a ceiling this year. 6,400. I think that's a fair price. Utah has fallen off on the defensive end. It's a good matchup for these Detroit guys. They're just, none of them are comfortable. I would say a sprinkle of Durant and Bogdanovich are the main two. I don't mind Beef Stew. He has that power forward eligibility, which helps.
Yeah.
Just a guy that doesn't play a ton of minutes. I mean, he's fine. But again, first game of the night, I'm being cautious here.
Jaden Ivey's getting 27 minutes. Durant's getting 27. Like, I don't know why they don't give these guys a few more. Like, see what you got in the kids, right? Like, just let them play. But I don't, like, you got to give 18 minutes to Corey Joseph in 2022. Like, when the Pistons theoretically are good, there ain't no way Corey Joseph's on this team. It's just not happening. Bagley's chopping those minutes up with Jalen Duran. I guess they see Bagley as somewhat of a reclamation project. I think they paid him, like, somewhat. I feel like they paid him a little bit. Well, he's not working for free, but I think he's a former lottery pick, and they're trying to see what they have in him, but probably not going to happen. Kevin Knox, another former lottery pick. They're just trying to resurrect some stuff. But I hate Detroit rotations. One guy is Bogdanovich, 32 minutes. Otherwise, 28's the most as far as projections.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why. Like, it hinders their ceiling a little bit. Like I said, Bogdanovich, I think, has the best ceiling here. He's probably the guy I would take shots on if I was looking for somebody on the other side of a Markkanen or a Clarkson.
We got Chris in chat just saying X's first game out and move on. Like, it's 20% of the slate. You can do that if you want to, and I may. But I think I like pinches of this game. I don't love anything, but I think and it all sort of depends upon the news flow as well. I think, right? Like if Butler doesn't go, there's going to be some Miami stuff that pops. Porzingis we don't know about, or we might not know about until later in the slate after the 7:30 game. But where things stand right now, nothing that I feel like I have to have. But certainly some interesting pieces. Anything else to summarize Utah and Detroit?
No, I think we covered it. More like you say, don't exit out because it's 20% of the slate, and I agree with that to a little bit. But it's more of like one piece on each side is all I would do here. If this were more than a 5-game slate, I think you absolutely could just exit out and move on. But we're short on games today, so I get it. You got to possibly work in a couple pieces.
All right, Warriors in New York. Of course, Steph is still out, going to be out for a bit. Wiggins is still out. JaMychal Green, fringe player, not playing basketball. Dante DiVincenzo at the Fish. He's not feeling well. He is out also. Klay Thompson expected to be available. New York is as healthy as they've been basically all season long. The only player out for New York tonight is Obi Toppin. We're projecting Ty Jerome to draw the start there for Golden State. We got Ty Jerome, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Draymond, Looney. Sixth man, I guess, would be Kuminga. He's probably the best man coming off the bench. He possibly may start. We'll see. Stay tuned. Your thoughts as far as the Warriors?
Yeah, extremely interested in this game. Both teams play fast. Golden State's among the fastest in basketball. Not a whole lot of defense from either side either. So Jordan Poole should run the show here. 8,100 feels like a crazy price for Poole, but as long as Curry is not around, like Poole has a crazy high ceiling. He's live for 40 actual points. He gets a few peripheral stats as well. He'll throw in some rebounds and assists. So really like Jordan Poole.
He kind of has to put up like almost 30 though, right? Because he doesn't do much else besides score.
Yeah, I mean he'll have a couple of assists, a couple of rebounds, but yeah, he's not going to go for a triple double by any means.
No,
but he does, like, he's going to have to score 30 if Golden State has any chance of keeping this game close.
Yeah, I see in chat.
Unless Klay does it, but yeah. Ty
Jerome, we're giving him 26 minutes. He's point guard only on DK. He's 3.5, basically the minimum. Single entry tournaments on GPP, Mr. Richard, he makes everything work. He's got a lot of, and surely nothing's going to change in Mr. Richard's lineup from now till 7 o'clock. Just lock it in and go to dinner. Make some plans. How do you feel about Ty Jerome at 3.5? Like there's some fragility there, as far as I can tell.
There's definitely fragility there, but the price is fair. There's not a ton of 3K guys that are playable on this slate. Assuming he's starting, he certainly is playable. I think even if he doesn't start, he's playable. I guess they'd have to move Poole to the 1 for that. They don't have a ton of ball handlers here. So I think Jerome gets some good run even if he doesn't start. I like just the depth on Golden State is interesting to me because they're missing some pieces down the roster. Like JaMychal Green is also out of this game. So I am very interested in a guy like Kuminga or even Moses Moody, like James Wiseman. I don't know that he's going to get enough minutes, but this is a really interesting spot for what they're going to do with their bench rotation here. I think it's extremely fragile.
Wiseman's also a center. I know he's still a minimum 3K, but we talk about the opportunity cost at centers. Like, what does he need to put up for you to be okay? You need like at least, I think you need like 25 at least, right? Like, can he get to 25?
Yeah, I agree. That's what you need. And I think he needs to play 20 minutes probably to get to 25. That's a tough ask. I don't know. I don't think he's done that all season.
And it's, New York. I'm pretty sure New York's a tough matchup for like on the inside. They're kind of like inverse Utah, where like they don't give up any points inside, and Wiseman's not a guy that's gonna eat on the outside. So it doesn't feel like a great Wiseman spot to me. I don't know. I hear what you're saying. Like in large fields, I suppose throw some darts. We're giving him 14 minutes for what it's worth, which certainly wouldn't be enough. Poole is getting a big ownership here, 29%, still meeting the bone as far as that price, 8.1K on DK. And on Fanduel, I think he's even more. I think he's 8.3. Yeah, he's 8.3 on Fanduel. Other pieces, Draymond, like he doesn't really get affected a ton by. He might actually be hurt by Steph, because I didn't run a court IQ as far as Draymond, but like in my head, I feel like Steph helps him. Steph gets him easy shots. Steph, spreads out the court, right, and gets Draymond ignored essentially. And it's not like Draymond's going to take a bunch more shots now that Steph's not out there. It's just like more inefficient shooters taking shots when Steph's not there. You like Green? I think at 5'9" on DK, he's fine. Fanduel, I don't love it as much at 6'5", although I think he's pretty sure he's a better DK Fanduel player just because of those stocks. You catch him in the right night.
Yeah, he's similar to Conley, and like if he fits, I wouldn't kick him out. But I don't know that there's a ton of ceiling here. He's not going to score enough points, even if he gets 10 rebounds and 10 assists. Not going for 20 points, I don't think so. He's fine, but not somebody I'm seeking out. I'm targeting Poole and Clay for the guy who's going for 30 actual points. I probably don't play them together. I suppose it's possible that they both go off with their shooting. But I think you want one to score like 40 and the other to score 20. So I probably just play one of them and then mix in some of the other guys. Like I think Ty Jerome is totally fine. And then like Moses Moody is somebody I keep going back to. Like maybe he doesn't get any run, but maybe he plays 25 minutes and near minimum price.
Again, it's though. That's a problem, isn't it? Like he averages what 0.6 fantasy points per minute. That seems somewhat troublesome. You catch him on the right night, I suppose, right? But
yeah, I think he struggled with his shot more than we kind of thought that he would.
Paint me the most optimistic Moses Moody story tonight.
He plays 28 minutes and scores 20 points, adds a couple of rebounds and a couple of assists, and scores 30 DraftKings points. Yeah,
which obviously that will be useful. Christopher in chat's asking how many minutes is Eric Dampier going to get for Golden State? Well, I don't know. He's been retired for at least 15 years. I don't know what Eric. I feel like that might even be before your time. I'm not exactly sure how old you are, but I feel like Dampier might be before your time because he played 20 years ago for Dallas.
I'm older than you think I am.
Oh, are you sneaky old?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Am I?
Are you older than Mike Conley? Let's have the chat guess on that.
Yeah, we'll have the chat guess. Dampier played for the Pacers also, right?
Maybe it sounds like it. Everybody at some point plays for the Pacers just because it's when you're in the league long enough. But Christopher's talking about how thin they are. So we're running a poll. Producer Devin's running a poll now in the chat. So at least it was up there for a second. If you are older or younger than Mike Conley, I didn't have a chance to vote because the poll went away. You know what? Elon said there's too many options, so we have to redo the poll. I got Elon. He's still he's going to be all right. All right. And Jimmy Butler apparently now is doubtful. So he's gone through all phases. He was in. He was questionable. And now, according to the chat, at least, let me confirm that it's correct. Yeah,
I see it.
I assume he's done. Come on.
Yep.
We'll figure it out as far as projections, but I assume he's not going to play, and that's going to make Miami. Well, who knows what the rest of the Heat team is going to look like. But yeah, I guess that's the next game on layaway. We'll talk about that.
I believe SBK did a what if for that, so we can definitely take a look at that.
All right, maybe Devin can put that up on the screen. I'm pulling it up now as well. When we get there, as far as Miami, you just have it ready to go. We're still talking about Golden State. Any more thoughts as far as Golden State? You want to jump over to New York? And you're talking about pace. I believe Golden State is number one. Last I checked, a little bit different, obviously with Curry not out there, but 103, number one in the league as far as pace. New York. I want to say they're playing a little bit faster this year. Well, yeah, they're really slow last year. Now they're just middle of the road with Brunson running the show. But certainly it's an up and pace game for them. How do you feel about New York tonight? Some of your favorite plays on the Knicks?
Yeah, I'm interested just because Golden State's so shorthanded. They've been playing faster, and I don't think they offer a ton of resistance on defense. So I could see Poole or Clay going nuts here. I want a lot of exposure to the Golden State side. And so I'll be running it back with some of these Knicks. Randall, if I can get to him, would be my preferred option.
Yeah.
He's found a ceiling pretty often here recently. He had a couple of games where he was up in the 60s. He's been playing a lot better recently. So I like Randall. He's expensive though. If I'm playing Joker, I probably can't get to him. So I have interest in Barrett and Brunson as well. We like both of those guys can put up ceiling games in this fantastic matchup. So those are the three I'm primarily interested in. Probably won't go to Robinson with all the centers that we have available.
Yeah.
Quickly just doesn't play enough, doesn't do enough for me to get there. But I do like the top three, Randall, Barrett, and Brunson.
How many lineups you got to make to get the Quickly? Because, you catch him on the right night. He can put 20 points in the bucket and, peppers the other stuff as well. It's about, his shooting variance. Is he just somebody you're just not interested in, or you're not making enough lineups to put him in your pool?
Yeah, I mean, he's in the conversation for like a 20 max, but I think probably 50 is the number I would need to get to. If he was a little cheaper, he would be more in play. 4,600. I just don't know if there's enough savings there. I would rather go to one of the Golden State cheapies in the 3K range than I would to quickly.
Ownership wise, DK, let's see what we have. Randall at 22%, Barrett at 23%, Brunson at 15%. I think I like Brunson and Randall more than Barrett. Is that might be a positional thing as far as small forwards? Maybe that could be it. I'm not certain, but that could be worth digging into. And you mentioned Robinson. I feel the same way about Mitch Rob. It's like, you got to really tell yourself a story. Like, when is he going to get those 7 or 8 blocks? Like, when is that going to happen? Is it going to happen tonight? And I think top of the head, like Golden State is a team that doesn't really get blocked very often. Big jump shooting team. If you want to do that, like, of course, there's a big variance as far as predicting blocks, but I feel like it's a team that does not get blocked very often. Now, I'm just curious because I must check. Golden State is the 4th least blocked team in the league. So
I think your logic there makes a lot of sense. They shoot a bunch of threes. Like, it's obviously like in close shots are going to get blocked a lot more than 3-point attempts.
Number 1 team as far as getting blocked, Charlotte, and Houston right behind, because Houston gets blocked. I think they're number 1 as far as yielding steals too. You love the stocks when you play against Houston, the hidden fantasy points, especially on FanDuel. Other pieces on New York did you mention Grimes? I think they like Grimes for his defense, right? He gets plenty of minutes. Not a big usage guy, but he can sort of eke his way. Although the salary's worked his way up down to 4.8K.
Yeah, it's the salary for me. If he was 4,200, maybe 4,800, it's just a little bit too much. I don't think he gets there often enough where he'll be in my pool.
Anything else of note as far as this game we should emphasize, something we're monitoring, or we're done with it, or moving on?
The Golden State starting lineup, I think, is interesting. If Ty Jerome is in there, great. If they do something weird and I don't know, maybe start Wiseman. Anthony Lamb is a guy I could see jumping in there. But the Golden State starting lineup, definitely keep an eye on that. Jerome, fine either way, whether he's starting or not, but whoever jumped in would be interesting.
I think Kuminga's like the best play, but he doesn't fit the pieces they have, right? Because, Looney's going to start the 5, Green's going to start the 4, and Thompson's going to, so just Kuminga's like a better play than Jerome, but just the way their structure is. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say here is,
yeah. I mean, Poole and Thompson can obviously handle the ball, but they're like, I think they start Poole off the ball and Jerome slides in there. So I totally agree with what we have projected here.
Yeah. Who closes? Does Kuminga get the close, or we don't know?
I don't think they would do Green, Looney, and Kuminga together. So
that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
I think it's Jerome or Lamb would be the guy that closes.
There's really, so I'm just trying to think. Kuminga, is his path sort of shut? I don't want to say that, but it's tricky. And well, I guess he can close over Looney. I suppose that's possible.
Yes, I could see that.
Yeah. So just, he's my favorite play amongst those guys, but just I don't know how you need like Clay out would really help. Yeah, but that's not happening, of course. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Bulls. The Bulls versus the Heat. We'll talk about the Heat in a second. Give our projection team some time, and we do have that if then we'll pull up as well. But 221.5 is the total. Miami, about a 2 or 3 point favorite here. News flow, of course, just came in on the Heat. We're gonna have Miami's. So Butler, we're just gonna assume he's out. He's currently doubtful. Lowry's out as well. Martin's out. Vincent's out. Udonis Haslam is questionable, which is hilarious. He played that one game, and then all of it.
Did he start one game this year?
Yeah. The second poll we're running is Keith older than Udonis Haslam? That's our second poll we're running. I think it's no. It's got to be no, right? I think he's 38. I feel like he's 38. All right. Dwayne Dedmon's available too, for what it's worth. But Miami, without lots of wings, guards, Lowry, Martin, Vincent, and Butler out as well. Doubtful, whatever. We're calling them out. What is our projected lineup? Hero, Strus, Highsmith, Jovic, and Bam. Interesting. Did they start Jovic with Bam last time, and he kind of went away pretty quickly? I feel like that happened, right?
Definitely started recently. I don't remember exactly who was out that game.
Yeah, we can pull that up on the court IQ. Because I don't think we're giving him a ton of minutes, although he is starting. That's what I want to see now. Let's talk about the Bulls first. That's easier, I suppose, right? As far as the Bulls, their injuries are minimal. it's Javonte Green. He's got a knee. He's questionable. He doesn't really matter. Lonzo Ball, hopefully we see him some point this year. Maybe we won't, but we haven't seen him yet. And, nothing has changed as far as their rotations. Miami's defense takes a hit, the absence of Butler for sure. And some of these Bulls guys, are fairly priced. And, I ranked them pretty well in my expert rankings earlier today. I don't necessarily actively want to pick on Miami, but just kind of the way the slate goes. I like some of the Bulls. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm interested here. And I think Jimmy being out, assuming that does happen, makes this even more interesting. I probably don't play two of them together. Maybe Levine and Vucevic have a low enough price that they could both get there, but it's always hard picking which one of the three Bulls is going to have the big night. Levine and his price, I think, is very interesting. It's been a rough year for him, but I feel like he has a big ceiling if he can get his shot figured out. Obviously, DeRozan can score 40 actual points, and he can get there as well. Vooch hasn't had quite the usage this year, but still interested. Tougher matchup against Bam, but I don't know. I think it's a spot that I want to play him. I think he's a great pivot off of Ayton. He's a center only, so that ownership is going to be held down. Probably lower than it should be, but 7,200, very fair price for him.
We got him at 20%. That seems like a pretty reasonably big number, I guess. But
that's more than I would have expected. Yep.
That's where I felt like it would be lower than that as well. That's why I was kind of surprised when I saw it. But I think part of that is the price, right? 7.2 seems pretty fair.
Yes.
Who wants to actively pick on Bam? But, and I don't necessarily love rostering Chicago guys when everybody's in, right? I want one of Levine, Vuk, or DeRozan out. Vuk basically never sits, but one of DeRozan or Levine. Levine, the price is pretty cheap too, 7.3. It's baked in. His season has not been spectacular.
Yep.
Patrick Williams is one of those guys that's sort of, I don't want to say popping, but sort of making things work, I guess we can say. I'm not enthused at the prospect of playing Patrick Williams, but he's there, and he's a fine math play. How do you feel about 21% own Patrick Williams on DK?
Yeah, not great. That's why I was talking about some of those Golden State guys is if you want to play Jokic, you're going to need some of these 3 and 4K guys. Patrick Williams is going to be out there for 30 minutes. How much is he going to do in his 30 minutes? We don't know. It's not a great play. I think trying to find a pivot off of that 20% ownership is a pretty good idea.
Let's see. Fantasy points per minute this season for Patrick Williams. This is on the grind down, if you guys aren't aware. This is my little cheat sheet for the show.
While you're pulling that up, I did take a look at Jovic's last game. He did start next to Bam, and he only played 14 minutes in the entire game.
What I thought. Yeah, he disappeared pretty quickly. And I think, did Oladipo get a bunch of minutes? I think we'll talk about him.
Yeah, 33 for Depot.
Yeah, his minutes restriction is basically gone, it seems like. Patrick Williams this season, 0.72 fantasy points per minute. Worse than Caruso. Caruso at 0.73 on DK, 0.77 on Fanduel. Makes sense because of stocks. Good defender there.
And I would say Caruso's a fine pivot, but we're showing almost 17% ownership on him too. Value is not great on this slate.
Yeah. The Heat value should be pretty good, right? I think so. And I think we gave our projection team enough time, so we don't even necessarily need the if-then. They are on top of it. They have already adjusted it for the lineup HQ. We mentioned Butler. We're assuming he's out. He's currently doubtful. As far as the Heat and their minutes, we're giving 37 to Tyler Hero, 8-8, and still that's the highest he's ever been, right? I feel like that's the most we've ever seen as asking price.
Yeah, has to be.
And he's more than justified it multiple times. Just absolutely lit up Houston a couple of games ago. Spurs, two good matchups for sure. The absence of Butler and the absence of Lowry, he's going to be handling the ball a ton. He'll be on the court a ton. 37 minutes is our projection. We got Bam for 35, Max Strus for 35. Haywood Highsmith is grabbing 30 minutes at 3.3K. Probably a little bit of fragility to that. And Oladipo 27 minutes, but as we saw last game, it could spike up beyond that. And I think Oladipo is a better fantasy point per minute player than Highsmith. I'm fairly certain of that. Just want to double check that.
Yeah.
Oladipo 0.78, Highsmith 0.66. But Highsmith again is 3.3. And 4.4 on Fanduel, 3.3 on DK. If Highsmith starts, what's your level of interest in Haywood Highsmith?
ownership dependent a little bit. I think he, like saving the money from Patrick Williams to Highsmith, I think Patrick Williams loses ownership now because Highsmith is available. If he starts, that is. If he doesn't start, maybe that ownership projection comes down. I'm interested. I don't know. I like this a lot now. Bam is really popping. That's a big number on Bam for sure. And Hero has just massive ceiling. So yeah, he's a center.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. It feels like a 2-center night. I guess we're kind of saying that without saying it, but it feels like a 2-center night. Is that
he does have power forward on FanDuel, so that's helpful.
Okay. Yeah, so I assume he'll be more popular over there for that reason. Some versatility. How do you feel about 8-8 Hero? Is there meat on that bone, or is that like, there's nothing? It's just yeah.
I mean, he's gone over 50 multiple times and recently. So yeah, there's meat at 8,800.
Yeah, I'm gonna run a quarter. I mean, we already know this, but I'm curious how dramatic the boost is as far as usage and things like that. I'm curious what it is if we kick off. Can't kick everybody off because we'll lose our sample, but I'm gonna kick Lowry and Butler off and see what kind of difference we get. Right, that makes sense, right?
Yep, that makes sense.
As we do that, how about Oladipo? 27 minutes might be a little low as far as minutes. If we look at last game, if we look at his progression, if he's got to overtake Haywood Highsmith, that doesn't seem like a big job necessarily. I'm not a huge Oladipo guy. I think he's on the back end. That knee has really got him pretty good. But, respect for toughing it out. And this matchup against Chicago is not scaring me or anything. And if he plays close to 30 minutes, pretty reasonable price. Where are you as far as Oladipo? And do you care if he's not starting?
I do not care if he's not starting because I think he closes. And yes, I'm interested. The recent spike in minutes is very interesting. I think we can assume 30 minutes here. I agree we're being conservative on that minutes projection. So even if he's not starting, he should play 30 minutes. I think he can get you 35 or so at 4,900. So I'm in.
Hero sees a nice little boost in assist rate in the absence of Lowry and Butler. No surprise there. A little rebounding rate boost. The usage rate goes up 4%, all the way up to 30.1%. I thought it might be a little bit higher than that, to be honest, but that's still a good number, 30.1%. Bam, by the way, 27.5%. Bam, 1.25 DK points per minute, 1.18 for Hero. But again, Bam is a center. I love Bam. I'm not going to discourage it by all means, but just and I think ownership-wise, actually, 8-4, he's grabbing. This is going to shuffle up, though. We need a new ownership number once the Butler stuff comes in. But before that hit, it's at let's see, when did that drop? 542. Maybe it was. This is new.
It has been updated.
Yeah,
I'm seeing a 26 on Bam.
Yeah. Is it even healthier on FanDuel because he's got that multi-position eligibility? It probably is, right?
He is more expensive on FanDuel also, though. But yes, I would assume, despite the increase in price because of the positional eligibility.
38% ownership for Bam on FanDuel because you can throw him at power forward. Hero is 8-2, so he's cheaper, and you got versatility there with shooting guard and small forward. 35% ownership. Did we talk about Max Strus? Like Strus is going to play 30-plus minutes. He doesn't just score, but you obviously need him to hit his threes to some extent. Where are you at as far as Max?
Yes, very similar to Oladipo. Certainly in play with all of the usage with Butler out that needs to be distributed. I'm very interested. I probably like Strus a little bit better than Depot even.
Max Strus, does his role change much? Basically the same. In the
maybe a couple more shots. Yeah.
Let's see. What his usage is 18.7%, which I think. How many minutes is that? 154 minutes. Usage actually a negative 0.6. That's minimal. Whatever. That's not a huge difference. Like Haywood Highsmith also slight usage hit as well, but that's 157 minutes. 0.58 fantasy points per minute for Highsmith with Lowry and Butler off the court. He just does nothing. But
he's cheap.
Yeah, he's cheap. he helps you get other players that you like. They actually want a roster. Butler officially ruled out now. He's gone from questionable to doubtful to out. So no Jimmy buckets this evening. No revenge. No 47th revenge game against the Bulls tonight, unfortunately.
He has went off against them multiple times too, so he's definitely vengeful. So that's a
I
bummer.
don't think he likes that organization. Yeah,
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, I think they did him wrong. Got rid of him way too soon. Let's see. Chris wants to know, is Hartenstein available for tournaments on DK? I don't think so. How do paint the story for Hartenstein? Like, you need early foul trouble for Mitch Rob, right?
The first question is, does he have power? Does he have power forward eligibility?
Okay, I assume center.
No, yeah, on DK he's center only. On Fanduel he does have power forward.
He's 4'6" though. Yeah.
yeah. No, I don't love it.
No, and he asked DK specifically for what it's worth.
Okay.
I mean, how many lineups? I got to make 100 lineups for me to consider Hartenstein, and I'm still like, I don't think so. I mean, you got to paint a story, and even then, like, it's not a lock that he would even be the center if something happened to Mitch Rob, because they could play Randall at the 5. That's something they could do. Yeah, I'm not getting there. He's been disappointing this season, hasn't he? I thought he would be a lot more fun and possibly take over Mitch Rob.
He had a little bit of a run there, and then Mitch Rob went down, and everybody was really excited for him, and he didn't do so well. So yeah, I agree. Even if Mitch Rob got in early foul trouble and he saw 22 minutes or whatever, he still might. He's not guaranteed to get there. So I can't, even on a 5-game slate, I can't get there.
I think you skewed the poll because you kind of like you said you're sneaky old, or you implied. I think I implied sneaky old, but 58% in the chat say that you are older than Mike Conley. How about that? There you go. Do you want to leave that in suspense? You want to let that sit there? Or
58% of the people are correct.
There you go. All right. Congratulations. What do they win?
I don't know.
Of this show. All right. So rank Miami guys for me. I wonder. You know what? Can I make like are we going to get a bunch of Heat players and optimals right now? Is that happening? How many Heat players is too many?
I mean, Bam is certainly in there. I think Hero, we'll see. And then I could see some of those value guys. I think Strus is going to pop into some optos, and Highsmith as well, just because of the price.
So
I wouldn't play more than 3 in a tournament. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too. If you play 3, do you feel obligated to run back somebody on the Bulls?
Yeah, I mean, on smaller slates, I generally do more run backs anyway, just because if you hit the game that doesn't blow out, then you're usually in pretty good shape. So I like to run it back even more on smaller slates. So I definitely think I'll be having plenty of Bulls exposure on the other side here.
Okay, so DK optimals, 3 Suns, 2 Warriors, 2 Heat, 1 Bulls. That's the first one. Next one, 3 Heat. The next one, 3 Heat, 4 Suns, and Jokic. That could be fun. I don't know if that makes sense. Can all 4 Suns get there? But you get Jokic. He's always fun. Yeah, so it's Suns and Miami, right? And it's in Warriors. So that's basically and Bulls. That's basically if we're ranking them. What's interesting is I put a cap on. I said no more than 75% of one player on DK, right? I added some variants as well too, and nobody's even coming close to that 75% cap. Normally, you get like 2 or 3 guys that hit 75%, hit that threshold. That's really peculiar. The top guy, I guess we have a pretty flat slate as far as projections. The top guy,
I'm surprised Poole isn't
41%. He's second.
Yeah.
45%. DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, I mean, it's that price, but it's the other awesome center plays that are holding that down. Like Jokic and Bam are both grading out as really great plays, according to RG value.
DFS Crusher says, every time I say paint the story, I'm drinking, getting buzz up. Now, me reading that, does that count too? Are you getting more buzzed up there, DFS Crusher? Are you, if I'm painting a story as to what you're doing right now, are you getting like kicking back on grandpa's cough medicine? Yeah, and that's not one of my go-tos. I don't think that's a Deanism, but I guess it is this show. It's just sort of happening. Quick question here. Casey's got a question here for DK tournaments, depending on starting lineups. 2 Bulls versus 2 Heat players. You want Caruso and Williams, or Oladipo and Highsmith?
So I would lean the Heat side of that, and that's because they're in a different situation. We know kind of what Caruso and Williams are because the Bulls are mostly healthy. The Heat, like you could see Oladipo play 33 minutes in this game like we did last game. There's just more opportunity with Butler being out. It takes a big usage guy off the floor. Lowry obviously plays big minutes as well. He's not in there tonight, so there's more opportunity available for the Heat guys.
All right. DFS Crusher says, yes, every time I say paint the story, he is drinking. So, all right. What are you drinking at?
I feel like you're doing it intentionally now.
No,
you're
I would
helping him
never.
out.
I'm not advocating this behavior. I don't want to. This is no fault of my own. Is that negative correlation, by the way, Oladipo and Highsmith? A little bit, maybe, right?
I think the minutes are negatively correlated, yes.
Yeah. Like they're probably taking each other's minutes.
Yep.
But they're cheap enough where I think you can play them together. I think.
Yes, and Strus kind of factors into that equation as well. So it's not just like there's definitely times where they could be on the floor together if Strus was off the floor, I think.
All right. By the way, the top guy for Miami as far as ownership, it's barely Highsmith at 39%, Strus at 38%, Bam at 36%. We projected Jokic to get. So is Jokic like the floor? Yeah, he's 3-2. So he's 3-2 when he's projected for just short of 18 points. Yeah, and obviously there's some fragility to that one. So, I don't know if I like. I don't like the idea of 26% Jokic in my lineup. So I'll just say that. Jovic, I should be.
Yeah,
clear.
I was gonna say nothing wrong with 26% Jokic, but yeah, I thought you meant Jovic the way you were talking there. 18 points.
Yeah, you
I think Jokic will get a little more than 18 points.
Yeah, maybe in the first 5 minutes or so.
Yes.
Break says, don't forget about DeRozan. Did we forget about DeRozan? We mentioned him, right?
We touched him. Yeah, he's a fantastic play. He needs a bunch of points, but he's a guy that scores a bunch of points often.
Yeah, when you can roster a guy for 9K that shoots like 18-foot jump shots, like why would you not? Like he's got to load it up, man.
8,200 on DK. I do like the price.
Yeah, he's fine. I'm just having fun. All right, we're moving on. I think so. Yes.
Yep.
All right, Washington. Somebody in chat, I don't remember who. My apologies. Said, I want Dean to talk about Kyle Kuzma. I assume that they're getting excited about the potential of Kyle Kuzma season if Porzingis does not play. Porzingis is questionable, midday downgrade with an illness. Hachimura still not playing. Other side, I think, is a little bit more interesting for Phoenix because there's no Booker, there's no Payne, there's no Okogie, there's no Landell. I assume that's it. It is a back-to-back, but Phoenix didn't work too hard. If they had to push last night, it wouldn't shock me if like Ayton sat or if Paul sat, but those guys were not really pressed last night. So Phoenix guys are going to be popping with especially Booker being out, Payne as well. Your thoughts? I assume you think the Suns side of this game is more interesting. It will get more interesting in Washington if Porzingis is out, but it's not like Kuzma's cheap, but certainly his usage would go up. Give me the Suns. Your adopted team, the Suns, kind of sort of somewhat. Probably not.
I have a ton of interest in the Suns. Ayton is going to be tough to get to. I think I prefer Bam, but it's really close. They're both phenomenal plays. Just as far as which one I'm taking the overweight stance on, though, probably going to be Bam over Ayton because I like the Bulls as run backs better than I like Washington. Even if Porzingis is out, we'll get to Washington, but Beal being back affects that situation also. Paul, another old guy coming off a back-to-back, but only 31 minutes for him. I think he's totally fine to go. I wouldn't be too concerned there. And he obviously had a really great game last night. Should be running the show again here with a little bit more usage because Booker is out. So love Chris Paul. Bridges is a guy.
You were so much more polite at the beginning of the show, and now you're just like saying I'm a bad influence. Apparently, he's old. That's it.
Yeah. I was definitely more diplomatic with Conley.
Ownership wise, by the way, the biggest number is for Ayton. No surprise, 31%. Really solid price, 7.6K, and a good matchup there against Washington. It might even get better if Porzingis is out. I don't think if Porzingis is this great defender, but they would lose some size and some length. Who would it would be like Gafford, and I guess Taj Gibson's probably a decent defender these days. I assume he's like decent, but I'm not running away from picking on Taj. He's a they say a guy's like a professional hitter in baseball. It's not like a big compliment. Like they can strike out and pop up like a professional. I think Taj Gibson's a professional basketball player in 2022. That's the comp in my head. Not a compliment, but he is a professional basketball player.
And another age challenged individual.
Keep age challenge. Look at you. Keep getting those checks, Taj. Yeah. So, by the way, Narrative Street, the Suns were sold today. I'm sure and I don't think their owner was well liked.
No, he was
for a variety of reasons. So, I don't know anything about the new owner. I think the new owner played basketball for Michigan or Michigan State or something like that as a walk-on. But congrats to $4 billion.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you see that price tag?
And not to keep doing the Elon stuff, but I was like, that's 11. He paid $44 million for Twitter. Would you rather have 11 basketball NBA teams or own Twitter? Okay, I'll just that's another poll that Devin can set up for the people. I mean, I'll even take the Kings as one of the 11. I'll take some of the bottom feeders. Give me the Pacers. Sure, why not? And even the Pistons. But I'll take the 11 basketball franchises. All right, Suns. Prioritize the Suns for me. Yes, and you get the Mercury too.
What's that?
In the chat, he got the Mercury as well. And I think, isn't Brittany Griner on the Mercury? I feel like it's me showing off my my WNBA skills. Or was she once on the Mercury? I'm not certain of this. But anyway.
I have no idea.
How do you not know this? Living in Phoenix, you don't go to the Mercury games?
Unfortunately, no.
All right, fair enough. Go ahead.
Ranking Suns. I think I have Chris Paul number one. Ayton is grading out as an excellent play, but it's the positional stuff for me. I'll have more Paul than Ayton. Bridges is fine, just not a guy I love to get to. Just a little too inconsistent. He's going to be out there for a ton of minutes. Certainly more available for him. I'd have him third, and then like Damian Lee, Landry Shamet type guys, you can take shots on as well.
You're going to get excited. Just a heads up. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but the starters for Golden State: Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Draymond, Kevon Looney, and Moody. Moody's going to start. Didn't you want? It sounded like you wanted Moody earlier.
Yeah, I in passing, I think he's a guy. I thought he was a guy who could potentially have more opportunity today, just because of how thin the bench is, as well as obviously the Curry and the big guys being out.
Yeah, we projected him for 20 minutes. I assume that projection is going to jump probably to 27 or something.
Yeah. Golden State just feels like they're searching for something, right? Like they haven't found the pieces to gel with their stars. So that's why I was very interested in that situation. Just feels like they're looking for the right combination of guys. And
they're not finding it because their bench has been pretty bad this year, actually. It's not been very good. But also,
unfortunately, that's going to jack Moody's ownership way up, and now he's not as great of a tournament play.
Yeah. How do you adjust to that? On the fly, do you still want to play some Jerome? Is he still in your pool?
Yeah, I actually prefer Jerome now. I think because it should drop Jerome's ownership. That'll shift over to Moody, and I could absolutely see Jerome close instead of Moody. So, yeah, just a situation. That's why I was talking about it, and that we should be keeping an eye on it because it's a very, very fragile situation.
And I'm pretty sure Jerome is a distinctly better fantasy appointment player, and he'll more likely get run in the absence of at least one of the studs, right? Some of his minutes will come without either Poole or Thompson, but Moody's going to be playing alongside them. And his usage on the season, it's 14%. Jerome's 13%. Javonte Green out, by the way, for what it's worth. Not a huge deal, but Gator Nation saying it helps Patrick Williams, I guess. Yeah, we already had him around 30 minutes or so. I think we're, I don't know how many minutes we're giving to Javonte Green, but probably not a lot. Jerome is a 0.71 DK point per minute player. Moody 0.62. So, yeah, a little bit better fantasy-wise as far as that. Just wanted to jump back and mention that and get your thoughts with that news breaking, and we certainly have time. If Porzingis is in, is Washington interesting at all?
They are interesting. Not as interesting as Miami has become. We do also have what if for Porzingis out as well, if we want to go ahead and pop over there. Like I said, Beal being back, whoever in the chat was asking about Kuzma, when Kuzma smashed without Porzingis earlier, it was because Beal was also out as well. So it was massive usage for Kuzma. He not quite as good of a play this time around because Beal is in there, but I definitely think it helps raise the ceiling of both Kuzma and Beal.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and run that right now since we have time. Sure, why not? Check out the court IQ. We're kicking Porzingis off the court. Kuzma has a 31.3% usage as opposed to Beal at 27.8. Beal, and let's see what's the
so just a quick note on as you're looking at that data, you have to keep in mind what I was just saying about Beal. Because you have Porzingis off, but Beal also missed a significant chunk of time. So Kuzma's numbers in that court IQ are slightly inflated.
Yeah, that's a good point. I could run like Porzingis off and Kuzma and Beal on, and we'll get different numbers. Yeah, that's worth pointing out. Definitely, it makes sense.
And Porzingis is ruled out.
Okay. Do we think could Gafford be interesting? Oh, he's another center, right?
Yeah. He is interesting, but he is another center. Yes.
They are apprehensive to start him sometimes. I know they didn't start him against Denver. Like maybe there was speculation. I'm sure I speculated that Jokic that guy bites and everything, and Jokic is going to get him in foul trouble within 2 minutes. So maybe they anticipated that. That's why they started Taj. Do you think Taj starts? We're not playing Taj, right? That's not happening unless he's power forward eligible, or he's probably not.
I don't have any interest in Taj either way.
Yeah.
His eligibility. He's center only also, so definitely not.
What about Gafford?
Gafford, I have some interest in. I think he's just as interesting as Walker Kessler, who we talked about way at the beginning of the show, or Jalen Duren. That probably makes it even more likely I have less exposure to this 7:00 game. Although we do have all the news now, so it's not like we're waiting on stuff to break.
Famous last words. I know what you're saying.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gafford is in the same conversation with Kessler and Duren as interesting cheap centers. But we've also had Bam open up, joining Ayton as Jokic as just awesome plays. So like I was saying at the top, it's a loaded center slate.
Yeah. Devin has pulled it up. There you go. We can take a peek at it here. This is one of the things you get if you have premium here at RG. Is we can't do it for every player, obviously, because it would take forever, and there's like a ton of players the later we get into the season. But one of them they did is like, what if Porzingis is out? And this will be adjusted on the lineup HQ in a second, I'm sure. Gafford, we're giving 24.6 DK points, 25 on FanDuel. He's a slight positive value on DK, but again, so much competition at center. We're giving Kuzma 40 DK points. Is that enough? Well, I mean, that's median scores, obviously. Certainly he can overcome that. And Beal at 36-ish. There's really no clear value. It's weird how it works, but just the way they're priced. Kuzma and Beal aren't exactly cheap. They're playable. They have ceilings. The ceiling's a little bit higher in the absence of Porzingis. Also, I would say the blowout route, is also a little higher, probably 10-point line at this point. But it's interesting that Porzingis is out, and it really doesn't move the needle a whole lot for Washington, unless you say otherwise.
I mean, I think that Kuzma and Beal are very interesting now. We want to play a ton of Phoenix. I think that Kuzma or Beal need to go off to kind of keep this game close. So I do really like them as runbacks. But yeah, they were just kind of mispriced because of Beal being out for so long. Kuzma's price is up there. They weren't in play for me at all if Porzingis was going to play. So I think this does definitely make them more interesting, even though they're still not grading out as like the best plays.
You can get 2 to 3 players in the Suns, and it's nice to have a run back.
Exactly.
Would you play Beal and Kuzma together and then a couple Suns? Is that something you can do?
You certainly can, especially on a smaller slate. I don't love that, though. Like I said, like Kuzma's just a little bit overpriced because Beal had missed some time.
Anything else of note before we talk about the hammer that is Jokic versus Ja?
Well, I wonder what Avdia is another guy whose price is just kind of because of how often they've been missing guys. Will Barton is another guy we've seen kind of go nuts, but again, that was without Beal. So that's
Denver week 8.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think the Washington pieces are interesting, but they're just not popping as much as the Heat and Golden State guys because of the pricing on some of them.
So we have the minutes here. We're giving Avdia 28 minutes, Barton 22. That can jump up and down. 30 to Morris. 38 to Kuzma's a lot. 25 to Gaffer, which is probably about right, depending on his foul trouble and that kind of stuff. All right, let's talk about the hammer. It's Denver. It's Memphis. Did you see the ejection for John Morant the other night, by the way, when he was talking to a fan? You know what I'm talking about or no?
No, I missed that one.
He was talking to a fan in the crowd, like a friend. Like he was on the road, but like somebody who's like a big fan of John. Like, and then like she was like, "Yeah, you got to get going." He's like, "Yeah, well, I am, as long as these refs will let me." Like they're killing me out here, and the ref wasn't looking at the ref. Dude just threw him out. Ridiculous stuff.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the refs are so sensitive. This guy is I'm trying to remember his name. Multiple time offender. He's like the new Joey Crawford. He wants his name on. People think are showing up to watch this ref. It's ridiculous. Stop it. Like, get over yourself. Nobody cares how sensitive you are. We have a fully healthy Memphis team with the absence of Desmond Bane. Jokic should be good to go. There is injury management for Murray. He's questionable. I did look it up. They're not playing again until Friday. So maybe their thought is like basically give Murray like 5 days. Did he play on that Sunday game against Charlotte? I don't remember. He may. No, he did, right? Yeah, so they played tonight, and then they're off till Friday. So maybe the thought is just to give him some extra time. And, Michael Porter Jr. Upgraded to doubtful, but I would also lean on, why not give him multiple extra days? KCP's got that leg, so he's questionable. Jeff Green has a back, so he is questionable. The more the big usage guys go away, if Murray's gone and if Porter's gone, good Lord, Jokic is just going to do his thing again. We love centers in this slate, but I guess the big question is, one of the big forks in the road as far as the slate is, and how much do you prioritize Jokic?
I mean, he's the best play on the slate. He has the highest ceiling on the slate. He's definitely a priority for me. Apparently, you put up 95 DK points and your salary goes down. He was 12K on Saturday, I believe, and now he's 11.8. It's a very big price tag, but I mean, if he's going to put up, he's got a floor of 55, I would say. And we've seen the ceiling, which is 95? Literally 95. Yes. Absolutely insane. I want to get to a ton of them.
You're afraid. So if I told you he puts up 64, no more, no less, what do you do with that information? Somehow I got the almanac. Biff hooked me up with one thing, right? What do you do with that? 64, no more, no less.
On this slate, I think I take it.
Yeah,
I think so. Unless you're telling me Bam or Ayton is getting 50, then I think 64 just raw points is, or Ja on the other side could go 65, 70 as well, and then that wouldn't be ideal. But yeah, I mean, I think 64 points from Jokic is useful. I don't know, 60% of the time on the slate.
Yeah, 60% of the time works every time.
Yeah.
Jokic is 12.5 on FanDuel, just 13% ownership over there. Good price on Jamal Murray if he goes. 7K is pretty fair, I think.
Tougher on FanDuel because you only get one. So you if you're going overweight on Jokic, you're fading the Aytons and the Bams. It's harder on FanDuel. On DK, where you can play two, I think it makes sense to get over Jokic. But the ownership is lower on FanDuel too. So
Crunch time guys are coming in about 10 minutes or so. I believe it's Tim and STL Cards. Of course, you get Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. Roth will be first answering questions from the Discord channel, the premium Discord channel, the Crunch Time Discord channel for premium members. If there is time, if time allots. Did I use that word correctly? Allows is probably the better word to use there. Yes. He will yield to the YouTube chat, but I'm happy to answer YouTube questions up until 7 or 8 minutes until they jump in here. So feel free to fire some off. Not a lot of context to this one, but Teddy just wants to know best play on FanDuel. I don't know how you want to answer that, but answer that however you wish.
Let me do a quick refresh here as I've had DraftKings pulled up, and there's obviously been a bunch of news that's broken here. And I play more on DraftKings, so I'm more familiar with that pricing. I think, depending on Bam's ownership, he's the guy that jumps to mind immediately because of the power forward eligibility. He's showing a huge ownership number, though. So 38%, 36% ownership. Let's see here.
Tyler Hero, by the way, is 8-2 and getting 40% ownership. But I think it's justified. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's totally justified. He's going to smash here. My favorite play, price and ownership considered, I think it is Tyler Hero. I like the ownership is huge, but he's a guy you go overweight on for sure.
Mr. Richard, we'll get back to talking about Denver and Memphis. He said he wants to play Ja and Jokic together in a single entry tournament on DraftKings. Don't we all?
Yes.
I want to do that too. I want to see if I can make that work. Have you tried to make that work? I haven't done it on the fly with all the new stuff coming in, but
I tried earlier and it was very difficult. I have a feeling it will look a little bit better now that we've had some news.
Yeah, I feel like it's much easier to do.
Like Highsmith at 33 is certainly in there. Moody, I think you can throw in there for sure. Like you have a couple of really solid 3K options now. I think you can make it work.
So let's see. I'm just curious. I want to run like what our optimal is, and then like what the best Jokic Morant lineup is. Like how many points difference it is. You know.
Yep.
I'm curious what that is. But
so 264.60 is the optimal Ja Jokic. So if you have the other
264.60.
Yep.
That seems low. I think that's like at least 10 points less than the optimal.
273.91.
Okay.
So yeah, almost 10 points.
But like you can do that. Like
yeah.
if
yeah, I mean if Jokic goes for 95 again, he's going to erase the 10-point deficit real quick.
Yes. But yeah, so it's clearly not something that a lot of people are going to be doing. I don't think, unless you're just forcing it. Like I like to do that, just sort of lock a couple players in and see what I get around it. But 10, I'm happy as far as 10 points. That's not an issue for me. How about Bruce Brown? Is he interesting to you? He's kind of especially if Murray doesn't go, like he's going to play a ton of minutes. And if KCP doesn't go, he can play 1 through 4, right?
Yes, he can play all the positions for sure. And a guy that they'll run out there for a bunch of minutes too. I think I want Murray out to go there a bunch, but he's definitely in play if they get, even if only KCP gets rolled out, he's interesting.
I have not run a lineup on Yahoo, but Break says you can get Morant, Jokic, and Randall on Yahoo. So yeah, you got to get those $10 cheapies over there for sure. We didn't talk about Dwayne Washington. Is he worth a flyer for Phoenix? I don't know if they're thin enough. They're thin, but how many minutes are we gonna get out of Dwayne Washington?
I mean, yeah, I think they would need him for ball hand. So when Paul was out, he got a little bit of a run, but with Paul in, I'm not sure that I see the path to big minute for Washington.
It's not that much more. We're giving 10 minutes to Washington. That's really, really thin. I'd much prefer to get to, I know it's a little more expensive, not that much more expensive, get to Shamet or Lee. Like those guys feel much more secure.
Yes, but I mean, like in a blowout, you could see Washington playing the 20 minutes and Lee and Shamet not quite getting to their projection. I don't think it's out of the, like there's an outcome where Washington plays 20 minutes. It's just not very often.
Chris wants to know if you want Randall or Hero on DraftKings in a vacuum.
In a vacuum, I want Hero, but I think Randall's a fantastic play today as well.
Let's see. Anything else you want to clean up as far is Bones interesting if we get Murray out, if we get KCP out? Do we have an if then in those guys? Let's see if we do. We probably do. Okay, so if Murray and KCP are out, our projection for Jokic is 60 on DK, Bones at 35. So yeah, Bones can be, or what? He's got to be like mid-5s or something like that. I'm guessing.
Yes, yeah, he would be popping as one of the best plays on the slate.
Gordon's fine, but like his price is I think 6.5. You can play him, but not terribly enthused about it. Breaks is saying Adams could shut down Jokic. I mean, what's shut down?
Yeah.
I mean,
like 2010 and 10. Yeah, he could slow him down to that, but shut him down. I don't think you can shut him down.
And he gets his fantasy points in so many different ways. If he's not scoring 30 points, he's giving up 12, 13, 14 assists, right? Like he's done more. That's got to score. If he's not scoring, you're in a lot of trouble. You mentioned Ja. As far as Memphis, he's getting the most ownership. Dylan Brooks, second most. I know nobody really likes rostering him. Steven Adams at 4%. He's a center, yada, yada, but he's fine, I guess. Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., they don't play him enough. This is kind of my issue. And, of course, foul troubles is an issue as well. But, especially on FanDuel, when he gets those blocks going, he's a lot of fun. And nobody's playing him. Your thoughts as far as Memphis? We kind of ignored them.
Yeah, it's because their pricing isn't very attractive. Obviously, you want to play some John Morant, but if you want to play Jokic in that scenario as well. So it's really difficult to get the Ja.
I think we lost Dean.
No, I couldn't. Mine is doing something weird
her.
too, so I couldn't tell if that was my internet or if it was Dean's. But
must be Dean.
Yeah.
Yep. Bye, Dean.
All right.
He's in chat. I see now.
He hit his time allotment for the day, and he had to peace out.
Well, feel free to finish whatever question you were just answering. I'll throw a couple of more here for you from chat.
Okay. Just talking about the Memphis pricing, it's not very attractive. You can certainly play a Dylan Brooks if you want to. He needs to score a bunch of points to get there. Ja's price is up there, and you really want to play Jokic on the other side. We just talked about that a little bit. I think it's possible to do that now. No interest really in Triple J or Adams against Jokic. So it's really going to be Ja for me and maybe a sprinkle of Dylan Brooks.
No Brandon Clark for value. Stan was wondering.
No, he doesn't play enough minutes. Tougher matchup against Jokic. Probably not for me.
Dean's back. Welcome, bud.
Back.
I don't know what happened. That was so weird. My camera just went away, and my backdrop, the almanac's gone now. Now you see a stupid green screen behind me. All the secrets are revealed. And I wore green on green. What a dope I am! That's rule number one. And I guess it's dark green enough that I got away with it. Whose
What a
dog
rookie
is that?
move.
Is that somebody's dog?
That was mine. Yeah, I've been like using one hand to produce and one hand to pet her, so she stays calm the entire show.
Look at you.
So now I'm on the show, and now she's bouncing off the walls. So
we have a crunch time coming in a couple minutes, right, Devin?
We do actually. I'll go ahead and bring in a couple of guys here, a couple of familiar faces.
All right. Let's see. Let's take a peek who it's going to be. Well, it's not a big secret. Hey, it's Tim. Tim got the big call up. Yesterday was like you got some batting practice in. You went 2 for 4, got a double or so, and they called you up at a show. Welcome to what you've been there before.
They must be desperate. It must be that time of year where they call in the backups.
Roth is coming in shortly. We got STL cards as well. Who are your favorite centers tonight, Tim? Because there's a lot, right?
Right. It's just like last night.
Similar. Did you get Joe Val or no?
I didn't play Joe Val, no. I played Luka last night on FanDuel, and that didn't go very well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the good thing about DFS, clean slate, man. We started all over again.
That's right.
We got cards as well. What's up, cards? Cards, what did you want to? I felt like you wanted to start a conversation. You were in chat yesterday, and you were asking what the best holiday cookie is. And I don't really know what separates a holiday cookie from a standard cookie, but is there a specific? Is there a specific holiday cookie you wanted to tout?
It just seems like everybody makes cookies. My mother always bakes cookies around Christmas time, and then now all of a sudden I've got like 100 cookies at home, and I eat about 6 of them at a time. But I don't know. I like peanut butter blossoms, and it seems like those are only like a Christmas thing, even though you could make peanut butter cookies anytime.
Is that the one with the Hershey's Kiss in the middle?
It is the one. I actually just ate one. It's in my stomach, or I could show it off in front of the camera, but I already ate it.
Those things are so bomb. That's what I was going to pick. I love those cookies, and you're right. They're only during the holidays.
Yeah, and I can eat like 6 of them at once, and then, I'll gain 5 pounds, but that's okay. So I was eating cookies and thinking about it and watching the show. And Dean is very easy to get Dean on a topic, and I was trying to get it on the topic of cookies. So
I'm easily manipulated for sure. I've never had a peanut butter. No, I feel like I've had.
You've never had a peanut butter blossom cookie?
I had an aunt when we were younger would send a package for Christmas every single year, and I think they included. There wasn't like a name on it. I guess I never called peanut butter blossoms. I do remember the Buckeyes though. She's from Ohio, and like the peanut butter chocolate balls. You guys know what that is? A Buckeye.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that was the specific Ohio trademarked cookie.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you follow college football pretty well. Right? Well, I guess that's I think that's part of it. It's a leaf or something like that. What is a Buckeye?
Yes, Yeah.
But there's also like it's not a cookie per se. It's like just
the dessert item.
It's called a Buckeye. And can anybody vouch for this? Somebody in chat probably can vouch for this. Nobody's in the Midwest. Tim will tell you he's going to tout some maple syrup cookies. He's close enough to Vermont, I'm sure.
No, that sounds terrible, actually.
I've had those from Canada. They're actually not bad. The Canadian like maple syrup cookies. It's a GPP play for sure, but not bad. Not bad.
I think Chris won with his comment in chat. Dean lives a very sheltered life.
Because I've never had I didn't know the name of peanut butter.
No, I've never had a peanut butter cookie, but I've had a cookie that is a peanut butter that's shaped into a ball that's called Buckeyes. Is that the same thing?
Keith, do you have any cookie takes before you step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time?
My mother makes an amazing chocolate chip cookie, but other than that, agree that the peanut butter blossoms are phenomenal. But yeah, nothing outside of that. Nothing crazy. No GPP takes for this one.
Yeah, the chocolate chip, that's like the chalk. That's like playing like Tyler Hero on Fanduel tonight or something like that. That's straight chalk city. But anything else? We're stepping aside. We're making away, right? Let the crunch time crew do their thing. Yeah, sure. For Keith, we never asked for likes. My bad. Hit that like button. Otherwise, Roth is going to threaten you guys and tell you this show's never coming back ever again. We do appreciate Fanduel sponsoring the show. Well, sponsoring Crunch Time, which starts now with Kevin Roth. Go for it, Roth.
Appreciate it, Dino. Sponsored for now, but only if we get enough likes. Otherwise, we're going to start charging you for this show again. So make sure you hit that like button. Help keep this show free. Hit our like button. What is up, everybody? Welcome to it. This is indeed Crunch Time, and as Dino mentioned, it is sponsored by Fanduel. Make sure you're taking advantage of their bonus offer. It is exclusive to this week only. It is an awesome one. I am literally considering driving to Louisiana just to sign up just for this bonus. No sweat first bet up to $2,500. Terms and conditions apply. Only available through Christmas. So get on it. That's good stuff right there. Also good stuff. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got one, Mr. STL Cards in the house. I didn't know they were called peanut butter blossoms. So I'm with Dean on that, but those cookies are fire.
Yeah, you roll them in some sugar and then bake them and then throw the Hershey Kiss in the middle, and it all goes together pretty well. So anyway, those have made my week. We've got a blizzard coming in my neck of the woods, so Snowmageddon right before Christmas, I guess. But I don't know. Need Roth's forecast to determine if and when we can go out for the holidays. But hopefully everybody stays safe that is impacted by that here. Not the best timing of winter storm crossing the Midwest.
Yeah. I'm supposed to get 75-mile-an-hour winds on Friday. I live right on the coast of Maine, so.
Oof. Oh, you got the nor'easter?
Yeah, I think so. Something's supposed to be happening.
Was that 7-5?
Yeah.
7-5. Okay, I'm gonna check and make sure you don't have any shows that day.
Yeah. Yep.
It's gonna be a rough trek for Mr. Santa.
Yeah, to be clear, hurricane strength is 74, so you essentially have a hurricane smashing.
Well, it's supposed to be gusts up to 75. It's not supposed to be sustained, but yeah, it's supposed to be gusts. Yep. That's
a quick note just on the weather thing, because now I'm sidetracked. The second most misused weather term of all time is blizzard. People are like, it's a blizzard. A blizzard has very specific criteria. It has to reduce visibility to a quarter mile for 2 hours or more with blowing snow. That's a blizzard. Don't come at me with it's a blizzard just because it's heavy snow. That is not a blizzard. There are specific criteria that need to be met for a blizzard. First most is monsoon, by the way. Oh, it's raining so hard, it's a monsoon. A monsoon is just a seasonal reversal of winds. It actually has nothing to do with rain in a particular spot at any given time. Tangent aside, we got Tim as well in the house. You got me started on the weather rant, Tim. I blame you.
No, it was cards that started. I was.
To be fair, it was me.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Sorry. No. What's up, Tim? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just getting ready for the big windstorm that's going to be happening later this week, and
he's getting ready for the monsoon. It's coming in.
Right, exactly, or the blizzard, whatever it's going to be. Something's going to be happening. It's not going to be very fun to go outside. I can tell you that much. So
yeah.
So I don't know if Cards wants to start doing a little cash game and I can do GPP. Does that sound all right?
That works.
Justin?
That works for me.
Yeah, let's
All right,
warm
all right.
ourselves up with $100,000 tonight or something. So, Cards, let's talk through this build here on FanDuel.
Yeah, easier to survive the monsoons and the blizzards if you got a little extra money in your pocket. So, the slate has changed a bit over the last hour. You can see if I took the unprojected guys, I put them back on here for a second. But you can see that 3 of the 5 highest priced guys on FanDuel are out tonight. Booker, which we've known for a while, and then Jimmy Butler and Porzingis are both out with illness, and those have both broken in the last 45 minutes. So that's going to change things a bit. Butler, obviously one of the highest usage guys for Miami. Porzingis, one of the highest usage guys for Washington. It was a revenge game, all that stuff for Butler against the Bulls, but now he's not going to play. So your exposure to the various teams tonight is probably going to be a little bit different because of that. And we'll go through the guys at each position. But no Booker, no Butler, no Porzingis. Those are kind of the biggest 3 names. You can see as Curry obviously is out. He's been out for a while. Bane, Wiggins, those guys have missed extended. Not necessarily with Curry, but the other guys have been out for a while, and Curry's been out for a game or 2 now. So, but Booker, Butler, Porzingis, kind of the more pressing recent news items. And so, with Booker out, you're going to see a lot of Phoenix exposure. With Butler out, you're going to see a lot of Miami exposure. I think those are the 2 teams that you'll see targeted the most heavily tonight, at least in cash game builds. And that starts, as we go through the guard positions, you can see if I sort by ownership, we've got 3 guards projected at 30+% ownership. I'll just leave it at point guard for now. But we've got Paul, so Booker's out. We've got Oladipo because Butler's out, and we've got Poole because Curry's out. So all those guys are going to fit the cash game conversation on a relatively short slate, given the injury news and the fact that the prices haven't quite adjusted for production with those other guys out. Poole, you can see since Curry got hurt, the other night, 52 FanDuel points for Poole. I will caution just a little bit that he shot 14 for 23. He's not going to do that every night. But they are playing the Knicks here. Wiggins is out as well. I mean, he's going to shoot the ball a lot. And I think he's perfectly fine. Let Tim touch on what he wants to do with Poole in tournaments, given the ownership. But I think he fits a cash game build. Paul, Oladipo, Poole. Morant kind of killed everybody the other night. He got ejected, and they lost to a Thunder team that was rolling like 5 reserves, basically, in their starting lineup. It was a really bizarre game, but I think Morant's fine if you've got the salary to get there. I don't necessarily think he's mandatory because even though we've got some injuries, it's not like this is a massive stars and scrubs slate. So I'd probably rank them Paul 1 and Poole 2 and then Oladipo 3 simply because of the price. He's 4,800. Minutes got up to 33 in the last game. So he should be more expensive than that, particularly with Butler out. And then, Morant, if you have the salary, I think he's fine, but I wouldn't blow everything up to get him at 10-7. He's priced pretty appropriately. So Paul, Oladipo, Poole, those 3 guys are going to be on your radar for cash games. And then when we add shooting guard into the mix, you've got Tyler Hero, who's probably one of the first guys in lineups tonight. Even at 8,200, I mean, his usage, his opportunity, his playing time with Butler out tonight, going to be hard to ignore him. You've got Damian Lee for value for Phoenix. His price really hasn't moved all that much, and he played 37 minutes the other night. So clearly the big beneficiary with Booker out this evening in terms of minutes. Not the highest upside play by any means, but fits that shooting guard spot well along with Tyler Hero. Those will be kind of the 2 guys that I would plug into shooting guards. I think Landry Shamet is okay as well, but I prefer the minutes with Lee. They're basically the same price, but if you needed the $200, I suppose you could go down there. Probably not going anywhere else. I mean, these other guys, good discussions for tournaments, but just don't project as well for cash games tonight. So let's see. Small forward, power forward, I will highlight them together. Again, Hero. You can play him at small forward if you want, but I'm probably playing him at shooting guard because you got plenty of options at small forward. DeRozan at 8,400, Kuminga at 4,200, I think is a value play that a lot of people will look to tonight. He should get more playing time with the injuries that the Warriors have. At 4,200 on FanDuel, pretty safe value there. And you got Strus as well for Miami, another guy that's going to play more with Butler sideline tonight. So we're probably going to get the question, how many Heat guys can I play in cash? I think you can definitely play 3. You could maybe make a case for 4 if you wanted to, with Adebayo being the fourth one at 9,300. I don't think he's an absolute must roster, because if you're playing him at center's fairly deep. And 9,300 isn't that much of a value price. So I'd play Oladipo, Hero, and probably even Strus before I got to Adebayo, even though Adebayo's ownership is a little higher. I just think at 9,300, if you have to forego him in your lineup, that's fine. So let me add center onto this mix as well now. Again, Adebayo is a chalk, but Ayton's good to go tonight. He's 8K, and I know he's kind of been in and out in terms of his injury status over the last few weeks, but he's had some upside games. You can see before he went down there for a few games, he had a 48, he had a 52. He kind of got eased back the other night, but that game was a blowout, and he was very efficient in double-double, 9 for 11 from the field in just 25 minutes against the Lakers. So full go tonight. No Porzingis for Washington. That's kind of why I'm saying if you want to get away from Adebayo, I think Ayton for 1,300 cheaper is probably just as good for a cash game build and tends to fit the lineup a little bit better. Looney is fine at 6K, and then if you're able to get all the way up to Jokic, I mean, he scored like 100 points the other night, it seemed like. So you got options at every price range there to where you can potentially fill in this spot last. So if you do, just kind of a quick sample build, means he only has Paul and Hero tagged, which I think is fine just because there's a lot of either-ors at some of these other spots. So if you go, say, Paul, Hero, Oladipo, Jordan Poole, and say Ayton, who I like at center, I mean, that leaves you with 5,650 for those small forward, power forward spots, which you've already got Hero in this lineup. So it's doable with guys like Kuminga, Looney, Torrey Craig. You can shift Hero over to small forward if you want, but even that, the salary becomes a little bit tight. And if let's say I want to change Ayton to Adebayo, then I'm down to 5,300 per player. So salary might become a factor if you're trying to play Adebayo at center. That's why I kind of like filling in that spot last. I like the guards. I think the guard plays are pretty solid. The forward spots you can maybe mix and match a little bit in cash games to make the salary work. But I do think like this quad guard look that I've got here, and you can play Hero at small forward. Those are probably the 4 guys I would absolutely lock into cash games on FanDuel.
Okay, very good. Very good cards. Tim, let's talk some tournaments here. And what stands out to me is that it looks like people are not going to be spending up for a stud. Are you?
Yeah, so definitely on FanDuel, I like some of the cheaper options, like Victor Oladipo, who's really, really a really solid play because he's point guard and shooting guard eligible, and he's only 4,800, and we have projected for 31 minutes. So that's like a cheap, chalkier piece that I do like. And then you're right, Kevin. I like Ja Morant quite a bit. He was in my first build today that I wanted to get to Ja and Jokic. Now that we have some more balanced plays, like in Chicago, like some of the mid-range plays for like Miami and then that Chicago game. I don't know if that's necessarily the optimal strategy, but that was my first lean today, was to go Ja Jokic. But you could still do that, and that will be a contrarian way to get different in tournaments. But I think Cards is right though. Like Chris Paul, like Jordan Poole, like that kind of range right there is going to be super, super high owned. Like we're pushing like over 30% owned right now. Mm-hmm. So I think an interesting way to get different is to go up to Morant or play a guy like Jalen Brunson with Jordan Poole as like a part of a game stack. So you're eating some of the chalk, by playing Jordan Poole, but then you're going to get really, really different with a sub 10% Jalen Brunson as part of like, you know, like a tournament game stack, something like that. That's just like a way to kind of get different. And I think that Brunson does have a pretty decent ceiling in this game. So I think that's a good way. Also, you know, it's guys like Tyler Hero. Like I'm playing Tyler Hero. I know he's only shooting guard, I think, on FanDuel.
He's small
No,
forward.
he's shooting guard, small forward. Yeah. So I'm definitely playing Tyler Hero. That's like a really, really chalky play, but I like that play quite a bit. Damian Lee, you know, you're gonna need some kind of value, and I think he's probably like the safest, like easiest value to get to. So I don't mind those pieces. Again, I really like this Knicks Warriors game. So a guy like RJ Barrett is gonna be, we have for 16%. I don't think he's gonna be that high, to be honest with you. Maybe he gets that high, but I think that he'll end up being kind of lower than that. Max Strus is like he's kind of a pay down option. He's going to play. We have him for 35 minutes. So I think he's a really solid option. So there are ways to get different, but then there's also, and also I love Klay Thompson tonight. You know, he's going to be 5% owned. He's a better play on DK for what it's worth, but he'll be lower owned on FanDuel, and he has a massive ceiling, and he's like a really, really high ceiling play that is going to be very, very low owned.
Okay, excellent. Good stuff. Let's flip it over to DK cards. Walk me through a little cash build over there on DK.
Yeah, I'll get the screen share flipped over to that as well here so we can put that up for the people. Gotta scroll down and give myself a bigger table here. Bear with me while that loads, and then we'll get rolling. All right. So not a ton of differences on DraftKings. Now, as usual, the cap is just a little bit tighter on DK, so you know, it will probably lead to a little bit lower ownership on the top end plays. But another thing that you notice is that ownership is fairly spread out on DraftKings. If you look at this top group of guards, you know, nobody above 20, Poole at 28, nobody else above like 21, and everybody, a lot of guys in that kind of 10% range. So, but largely the plays are going to be very similar between the two sites. Chris Paul's price is about the same. Oladipo's price is about the same. Hero's price is about the same. And you got Lee and Strus showing a little bit more ownership on DK, but it's not that they're that much more expensive or that much cheaper. They're basically around the same price. It's just tougher to navigate the overall cap on DraftKings than it is on FanDuel. And that might lead you to needing like one more complete punt that you don't feel super comfortable with. I mean, that's why you're seeing like 14% ownership on a guy like Alex Caruso at 3,900. Not that he's this great play, but if you need it for a punt, I mean, I can see some people doing that. But I think getting that same type of build, again, what we did on FanDuel was Paul, Poole, Hero at the guard spots. And then, again, Damian Lee is so cheap on DraftKings that I think you prioritize him in cash games. And, you know, at FanDuel, once we had the 4 guards locked in, we were at about 5,600 per spot. Now, here I'm at 5,100. So, again, just a notification that the cap on DraftKings is a little bit tighter. I think the plays are generally the same, but you might need one extra punt or something. So that's going to bring guys like Patrick Williams into play, or Caruso, who I mentioned. Like, Patrick Williams is not good in terms of a fantasy output kind of guy. Like, he is who he is. 32 minutes, 22 fantasy points. 29 minutes, 16 fantasy points. 40 minutes, 25, 21, 30, 16. I mean, he's going to get you 20-some-odd fantasy points. And that is not exciting, and you definitely don't need to play Patrick Williams in a GPP. But if it helps get your cash game lineup over the finish line, I am okay with Patrick Williams at $4,200 on DraftKings. Mikal Bridges does have a cheaper price on DK. He's definitely cash viable over there. So if you want, you see Meansy has him tagged. to add him in. He fits that same build. And again, you're still around about 5K per player left to spend, but you're probably going to need to roster a Patrick Williams type on DK in order to round out that lineup. The other kind of chalkier, cheap option is Daniel Gafford at 4,000. Again, Porzingis is out tonight. We have not seen them give Gafford huge minutes. It was kind of mid-20s, I think, last time Porzingis was out. But he's 5,300 on FanDuel. He's 4K on DraftKings. So don't love it, but 4K on DraftKings, he's certainly fine. Adebayo is cheaper on DK as well than on FanDuel. And you have a lot of guys on DraftKings that are center-only eligible. So it could very well be a two-center night. Kevin Looney has a good price. Duran has a good price. So I think you're probably picking two of these guys. For me, if you just go Gafford and Adebayo, and again, I'm not trying to fill out a whole lineup here, but I'm doing this as an example. This is still over the cap because this lineup only has $1,600 left. And I mean, I don't have, right? Look at this lineup. My highest salary guy. Yeah. My highest salary guy here is $8,800, and yet I still can't finish out a lineup because I've only got $1,600 left. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take out one of these kind of top end plays, whether it's Paul or Poole or Adebayo or Hero. Based on our projections, Paul is the guy that's the lowest. So you take him out, you get another punt in there like Caruso or something like that, and you make it work. But the cap on DraftKings is very, very tough to navigate tonight, and it would have been even tougher. Like the thought process early in the day was that it was going to be mega tough until we got this Phoenix value with Booker out and then, the Miami guys with Butler out. It was going to be a real tough slate, and it still is on DraftKings. So your lineup is going to look a little different on DK. I like the same guys, but you're probably going to have to get another punt in there.
Okay, good stuff, Cards. Tim, let's talk through what you're doing on DK, because you kind of wanted to spend up maybe for a Ja or a Jokic on FanDuel, and now I don't know if you can do that on DK.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I just wanted to bring up a couple things. One thing, I'm looking at our Slate IQ page right now, and it's looking at our top 10 highest owned players on DK and their ownership versus their optimal rate. Mm-hmm. And we have Bam at 31% owned, and he's in the winning lineup 58% of the time. So that's that's huge positive leverage. You don't really get such good leverage on such a high priority play like Bam. So if that comes in true, he is I know he's gonna be chalky, and I know it's not exactly a hot take, but if he's that's a really good leverage score. So I would definitely be getting overweight to him in tournaments. I wanted to like Jokic a lot today, but he's going to be 22% owned, and we only have him in the optimal lineup 19%. So he's actually one of our only negative leverage score players in our top 10 chalk rate. So I really like the balanced build that we're going with, that Cards is going with, and it doesn't look like basically, I would try to just get different in a couple different ways, because I think we're going to be in store for some really good shots tonight. And those pieces should be guys like Hero and Bam, Damian Lee. I love Max Strus, and they're all coming in with positive leverage. So that's, you like to see that. So I would try to really get overweight those guys tonight.
So you're saying put your cash build in a tournament?
Not really. You've got to get different elsewhere, and or in some places, and Card says, it's really looking like a double center night. So if you don't do a double center, that's a great way to get different right there. Just don't do double center. Maybe don't play someone like Daniel Gafford, who's going to get steamed up. You can make stands on some of these guys. Center is a great place to get points, but if you pay down, I don't think Gafford has quite the raw point ceiling. So if you go Ayton Bam or something like that, that'll be kind of popular, but it won't be as popular as paying down to Gafford. But I think you're onto something though, Kevin. It's I feel like it is going to be kind of a chalkier type night, and that's why I've got to tell people that I wanted them to get overweight on some of these chalkier plays.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Good stuff. I like it. By the way, for what it's worth, Gafford is my guy. Like I think Gafford's going to 9x. So I'm the guy steaming him. Right? That's me. I'm all about it. Okay. Hey, we got 9 minutes until lock. Cards. Anything you want to throw in here?
No, I don't think so. It is kind of a tough night. You're going to see some 2v2s, and a lot of those are going to feature punt guys. Literally nothing has broken for new other than a couple starting lineups with no surprises. So, it's hopefully a night where we don't see a whole lot of late news. We got 3 games starting here in the next 40 minutes, and then 2 later games. I guess Jamal Murray is questionable, but probably doesn't change how you're approaching cash games, and that's the last game of the night, so you really can't build around that one. Other than that, hopefully nothing else for surprises this evening.
Very good. Rain, by the way, in the YouTube chat says, interesting to see how much different I handle lineup setting versus the pros. And I agree. My favorite thing about the show isn't getting the plays. It's getting the thought process that you guys give behind and the whys. And it makes me a better player. So I appreciate that stuff. It's always good to hear. So thank you guys. Let's get to the QQs here. Of course, I'm jumping in the RG Discord first. If you're not there, you should be. That's where the party's at. Scrolling up a wee bit here. I'll start with T. Jackson, FanDuel Cash, DeRozan and Landry Shamet cards, or CP3 Kuminga.
I'll go the first one simply because Kuminga's been a little banged up as well, and he does carry just a touch of risk. So give me the first one.
Very good. DKGPP, Tim, Jovic, not Jokic, but Jovic or Duncan Robinson?
Jovic.
Very good. FanDuel GPP, Tim, am I wrong? Fading chalk in pool and going with a couple cheaper Golden State Warrior plays?
I think the answer is you are wrong.
Yeah, that's fair. That is absolutely fair. Okay, I like it. DK Cash, Patrick Williams, and Draymond, or Barrett and Jovic?
Yeah, going to be a lot of blah on DK tonight. I mean, you got to play one of those guys. I do like Jovic a lot for tournaments. I think in cash, I mean, Patrick Williams is going to get you 20. It's not going to be pretty, but he's going to get you 20, 22, maybe 25 if it's a really good night. I think I'm going there in cash.
And for what it's worth, Kevin, like Patrick Williams would be a guy I would not play in tournaments.
Yeah.
You're talking about playing your cash build in tournaments. Like he's the type of guy that I'm not. I mean, he's definitely going to go for 50 now, but yeah, he's definitely a guy I wouldn't play in tournaments.
So I almost actually led into it with that exact question because I could not.
He's the type of guy. He's the type of guy I have. He's the type of guy I have zero interest in playing.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what I figured. All right. Let's see what else do we have here. FanDuel Cash cards: Levine and Bogdan or Kuminga Bam.
I think I would play Kuminga Bam there.
Very good. Are you expecting Jamal Murray to sit tonight? Any expectations, guys?
I am not banking on that one way or the other. Again, I don't think that changes your cash game lineup. I mean, it's really hard to say with him, particularly, and with Denver. That
situation is tough. Really. It's tough because Bones would become such a good play if he sat.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know if you could really build like a 2v2. And I personally think he plays, but I don't have any kind of conviction behind that.
Gotcha.
So the issue with him in cash games is just that, if you wanted to even make a 2v2 and be able to pivot, it's not like he grades out all that well in our projections. And then, if you end up playing him, there's just so many other guards that I'd rather have. Like the guard spots are the ones I wouldn't mess around with. If he was a small forward or a power forward, I think it's a different discussion, but the position matters too.
Okay. All right. Steven says, DK single entry GPP, is it a punts and studs night or balanced? It's more like a punts and balanced night. It's really neither. But the answer is it's more balanced, right?
I think it's more balanced.
Yeah. And then Mayhem, I'm just gonna throw this one in before I get back to the Discord. He said, I got $5. What's the best bet? Did you look at any sports betting here?
Oh, I didn't. I don't have any bets.
Cards?
I did look at it a little bit earlier. As tough as this is to say, I like the first thing that I caught my eye was the over in the Knicks Warriors game. I think that's depressed a little bit too much with Curry out. And we still know that they'll play plenty fast. And the Knicks, I mean, they have their issues defensively. It's only 221, which is pretty low total in this day and age in the NBA. So I do like the over in the Warriors game.
I can take this one real quick. Grant Neefer, Scores and Odds provider.
Yeah.
G-Neefer07 on Twitter. You should find him if you don't already follow him. But he does video every weekday for NBA bets. Over 18.5 points, rebound, and assists for Mitchell Robinson. Over 21.5 points for Zach LaVine, and over 1.5 threes for Ja.
There you go. Now you got $10. Hopefully.
There you go.
All right,
you parlay them all, you got $50.
Hey, now we're talking. Okay, FanDuel Cash from Achilles. This is a 3v3 cards. Levine, Green, Kuz, or Brunson, Randall, Grimes.
Yeah, I don't like that second one. Give me the first one.
Very good. DK Cash cards right back at you. Is D-Rob, that'd be Duncan Robinson, okay as a last piece?
These lineups in DK are just so ugly tonight. No, as much as I hate to say, it's hard to sit here and say no to Duncan Robinson and then recommend somebody like Alex Caruso or Patrick Williams, but I think I like those guys a little bit better because if Duncan Robinson doesn't hit a couple threes, like he can get you like 6, and I don't like that in cash games. So again, we're back to Patrick Williams.
Okay, all right. DK Cash right back at you here. CP3 and Gafford or Caruso Bam?
That is really, really close. I'd probably go the Bam one, but that's going to project about the same, I think.
Okay, very good. Tim, FanDuel single entry. Would you play Joker and Morant together? That was your initial plan, but you've been kind of knocked off course.
Yeah, that was my initial plan. Like, if you if you find a team that you're comfortable with and you want to like get some of this Phoenix value and Miami value, and then surround it with Morant and Jokic, that's fine. It's fine. It's probably not from a medium projection that strong, but you're gonna have a lot of leverage on the field. So I'd say give it a shot if you could find the salary to do that.
Sure. And occasionally Jokic goes for like,
right.
What does he do? 30
we
points,
we know he has 100. We know he has a 100-point ceiling. So
yeah, you never know what you're gonna get there. All right, Achilles, DK Cash. Oh, sorry, Luke Cage says, Tim, any interest or is anyone stacking New York and Golden State in GPPs? Cards just said he feels like it the total may be a little low.
I love that game. I would get multiple, like there's some like low owned pieces like Clay and Brunson, even the guys like Draymond. Like I think that Julius Randle, like I love a lot of people, and of course Poole, but he's gonna be chalky. But yeah, like I love that game.
Very good. Okay, I like it. Achilles, DK Cash cards, Draymond or Bojan?
Give me Draymond.
Very good. DK GPP, Tim, Poole Kuminga or Clay Bogdanovich?
The first one.
Okay. Single entry FanDuel, last piece, Tim, 4,800 at power forward or less, not named Williams.
Right. I was just gonna say I'm not gonna say it. Oh man.
Unless there's really nothing there, then redo your lineup.
It is ugly. You can't find the 200 for Torrey Craig, I take it. That would be the best way to do it.
It all comes back to Patrick Williams in the end.
Yeah. I mean, there really is nobody there.
Yeah. The answer is Patrick Williams. All right. Yep, that's me, DK Cash. This is a 2v2 cards, Caruso, Draymond, or Clay and Jovic.
First one.
Okay. Any interest in the 3-3 Kevin Knox on DK, Tim?
Maybe if you're building like 150 and you want to put him in like 1.
Gotcha.
But
all right.
No.
Okay. Single entry FanDuel, Tim. Is it too much playing Craigs, CP, Bridges, and Lee? I do have Kuz in this lineup.
So he wants to play 4 Suns.
Mm-hmm.
My feeling is that it is too many. I'd go max 3.
Okay, last question. A few people asked about Ty Jerome. Is he still in play for a DK GPP?
Yeah. I wouldn't get carried away with it, but I think he's all right.
Very good. Got that in just before the lock. Guys, pencils down. We are seconds away from locking this up. But if you do have any questions, bam, just like that, we hit the lock. If you do have any post-lock questions, feel free to get them in. And make sure you hit that thumbs up button on the YouTube. It's the best thing you can do for us and for you. It actually, studies have proven that if you hit the thumbs up button, it makes you feel better. I made that up, but you should do it anyways. So it's free content. We appreciate it. Shout out to our sponsor, Fanduel, and shout out to you guys for watching and for liking these vids. See if there's anything more coming here. Here we go. Why is Kuz getting more love? Why is Kuz getting more love as the number one option tonight?
I mean, that's probably why isn't.
Why isn't
okay,
he?
I was
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because Beal's in is the reason. And that's gonna and like all those guys are so priced up because Beal's been out for so long. So it's not. I don't think this is like some kind of killer Kuzma spot.
Okay. BK says Patrick Williams or withdrawal. I like that. Let's see. DK Cash, better play at guard in DK Cash cards. Paul or Poole? Obviously, you love them both.
Yeah, I do. I think Poole grades out a little bit better on DraftKings, given the scoring and the prices. So, look, it's 6-1, a half dozen of the other, but it's maybe a 1.5 or 2 point projection. So, yeah, I do like Poole a little better on DK.
Okay, I like it. Hey, guess what? We've answered all of the questions. We've hung out a little bit longer to see if anybody came with any cookie takes or anything else. Guys, be safe. I know the whole country's about to get hammered by this cold air.
By what? By what,
windiness.
Roth? What are they going to get hammered by?
By an Arctic front,
Okay.
not by a blizzard, and not by a monsoon. It's an Arctic front moving through. So stay safe. Wrap your pipes. Do whatever you got to do. Cards, you don't even have to wrap your pipes, right? Where you're at, it's just insulated. It's a thing.
Yeah, I mean we're used to it.
I don't even know what you're talking about, Kevin. What is that? What does that mean?
You gotta the pipes in your attic. You gotta go up there and wrap them with like foam so that they don't.
I've never heard of this thing. I'm from Maine. I've never heard of this.
This is a thing that we have to do so that otherwise everything explodes in our attic and our homes all flood. It's really fun.
That's what happens when you get blizzards down there.
That's what happens when we get the blizz. Yeah. That's what happens with the Houston Blizzards. Hey, guys, I had a wonderful time hanging out with y'all. Hope you did too. Dean says, wrap your pipe really sounds like something else. It does indeed. For cards, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. Stay safe. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.